Hi, and welcome to the MacGuffin Podcast. I'm Ed.
I'm Ben.
And we're here to do our top 5 Star Trek movies. We're sticking with we wanted to do a Star Trek countdown. We're sticking with the movies because it's a movie podcast, so seems natural. There are a lot of other top 5s you can do, a
lot of television shows.
Totally. And in this case, we're gonna ignore the elephant in the room. We're gonna do a top 5, not including the newest movie, the J.J. Abrams movie. Reason being for that is it is an entirely different universe. But it's its own entity, and it seems like it deserves its own discussion. So, with that, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay, what's your number 5?
All right, my number 5 pick would actually be Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It's not, in my opinion, a great movie.
Sorry.
Exactly. It's very boring. It's very slow at times. But then, when you're putting the whole list of Star Trek movies up in comparison,
directed by Robert Wise.
It does, in my opinion, have to fit at number 5 only by default.
I would agree with you. It's a great idea. It's actually a reworking of an episode called The Changeling, that Gene wrote himself. I like it more than I hate it, but
it's got the
a lot of staring at a screen.
It really was very
obviously
very inspired by 2001 and Solaris. Lots of these very long, slow panning shots of space and the ship, and everything's beige and brown.
Bald chick and Well, my number 5 would be, jumping ahead quite a bit, Star Trek Generations, which was the first Next Generation cast. I heard you inhaling there. 1995, directed by David Carson, who I guess did a bunch of TV.
Death of Kirk, man.
Yeah,
Kirk's
death's a little anticlimactic, but on the other hand, I kind of dig it a bit.
And it totally defies what he says about his own death in 5.
Oh, that he's
going to die alone. Yeah,
yes.
He certainly does not die alone.
I buy that, but Brent Spiner is so awesome in it. He says "oh shit" for probably the first time in the history of the series.
What about Star Trek 4? Does Spock not say
like
shit?
I think there's a double damn you or something.
Okay.
But it's the cast is really great. I mean, Brent Spiner alone, I dig him a lot, not dealing with the emotion chip, and of course the special effects were a lot better than they had been. So
that's true.
So your number 4?
My number 4 would be Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country.
Solid pick.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I rewatched it recently, and it totally doesn't hold up to my memory of it being as good as I liked it, but it still is a fun Star Trek movie at that. I like to see the cast and the crew all back together again for one last time. And it was nice that Nicholas Meyer, who obviously did, Wrath of Khan, came back, was brought back on board, and it kind of spiced up the series and the movie. It made it entertaining. A
lot of paralleling Glasnost and the fall of the Soviet Empire.
Yeah. I liked. I mean, there was those interesting parallels, of course, that made it Star Trek, and then of course all the Shakespeare and Christopher Plummer. I mean, he's fantastic no matter what. But so that solidifies it at number 4.
Shakespeare and his original Klingon.
Yeah.
Well, my number 4 would be Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Yes, the whales one.
The whale movie.
Yes, the whales.
Oh, so painful.
Which, they did actually win the Oscar for best special effects for those whales.
Wow, no way, really?
They had to make remote control whales. That was 1986, directed by Leonard Nimoy. Mm-hmm. Second one he directed. He had directed Star Trek 3 as well, which just nudged it out of my list. Actually, I think that's an underrated movie, The Search for Spock.
Oh, yes.
But 4, the reason is it was a huge crowd pleaser. People really loved it, and it is funny. I mean, it's funny and
I don't know.
No?
I don't know. I also rewatched that one recently, and I didn't find it to be nearly as funny as I...
Where are the vessels?
I don't know.
Where are the vessels? Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. That movie just to me felt too much like they were trying too hard to please the non-Star Trek fans and get them on board the Star Trek. You know, they're like, okay, we're gonna set it in modern day time. It's not. I don't know. The premise isn't even Star Trek.
What, your number
Anyways,
three?
that's just my number 3 would actually be Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. Honestly, I totally agree with you. I think it's a very underrated Star Trek film.
It's all about
It is
grief.
cheesy, but I love the cheese factor in it. I love Christopher Lloyd as the over-the-top Klingon. I love. Yeah, exactly. I love it when he squeezes the worm thing to death,
Yes.
and it's like it's gooey all over the. Oh, that's such a over the top scene. That's fantastic. And of course, the drama doesn't get any better than the death of Kirk's son. You know.
One of the things that knocks it down for me a bit is that they replaced Kirstie Alley's performance as Saavik with Robin Curtis.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's
screwing
her
that up,
name.
maybe. Robin something, mullet head. She had a
She had a very
business.
bad moment.
Yeah,
This is
but
true.
she was a lot more dead weight than. I mean, imagine Kirstie Alley actually being worth a damn way back when. So
I will agree with you.
but yeah, I dig that movie a lot. Well, my number 3 is something you already mentioned, which is Star Trek 6, Undiscovered Country. A lot of what we already mentioned. I dig it a lot. I think it's one actually people forget about. You're right about the death of Kirk. I almost would have loved it if he'd gone out as kind of a pimp. And towards the end when he's making the big heroic dive to save the president.
Oh,
If he had taken the bullet there and gone out, you would have been like, yeah, we're saving the president.
By the way, wasn't the present Kurtwood Smith?
It was.
Who is also in what other Star? He's in. I think he's in another Star Trek.
He was on Next Generation as one of the aliens.
That's right.
Freaky four-headed aliens.
Yeah,
but Kurtwood Smith of 70s Show and RoboCop fame. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool movie. How about your number 2?
All right, my number 2 would be Star Trek. Gosh, is it 8? It'd be the First Contact. I mean, that of all the the Next Generation movies, I think, is the best. They obviously decided to recapture the magic that was the best of the series with Picard getting turned into a Borg and then bringing the Borg back for the movie, and then even going further and adding the Borg Queen, and then the whole Data and her battle between the battle of wills between each other is I think that I don't know.
You know what's funny? We've got that. That's my number 2 as well. And 1996, directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, he
Riker.
does a good job handling the direction in that movie too.
And yeah, I echo everything you say. I think it's the best Next Generation movie. I mean, first of all, Patrick Stewart is flat out the best actor that's ever touched Star Trek.
Oh, definitely, and he shows his chops in that movie too.
That awesome scene about Moby Dick and the white whale. And
with
Alfred Woodard.
Yes, when he loses it. Oh, such a good scene.
Yeah, and she says you broke your little ships.
Yeah.
Wow. And there's fun callbacks to the original. To the Next Generation show. They even throw in the Doctor from Voyager on the holodeck.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
the emergency medical hologram. It's that movie just rock solid.
And Farmer Hoggett is in it.
Yes.
James.
James.
I know I'm so horrible for not remembering.
I'll know this 2 seconds from now. But yeah, he's playing a character that was on the original series.
Yeah, that's right.
They
mention him a lot actually in the original series.
Yeah, Zephyr Cochrane.
Yeah.
And he was actually on the Enterprise, the first episode of Enterprise, the TV series.
Yeah, I did not know that. I didn't get that far.
So your number 1?
My number 1 is the only number 1, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I mean, that is the pinnacle of all Star Trek movies. Not only is it just the best in ranking it with the other Star Trek movies, but it's so fantastic because they captured everything about the show and poured it into this like end result. I love how the show really, or I mean the movie I should say, really is about Kirk having to kind of face up to his reckless behavior, his cowboy reckless behavior that he had throughout the show, and how that kind of comes into play. Like they really address that in the film, that he's a space police jerk in the show. He's going around ruining everybody's good time all over the place, and there's repercussions for that, and Khan is definitely one of those repercussions.
Chickens come home to roost, especially, and it calls back on that. Space Seed was the original episode, and they even made a comment at that about at the end of that episode, which was the genesis of the movie. Genesis.
Very nice.
Where they say it'd be interesting to see what fruit we planted today, what that would bear, and that's
Definitely.
Star Trek 2.
And I like the little touch too of the fact that the one character, and I don't know the actor's name, but he's very clearly Khan's son, though it's never actually said out loud.
Another mullet.
Yeah. And what's really
Mullets.
great is there's an episode of Next Gen that has that actor, and then the actor that plays David.
Yes,
the
the drug addict episode.
Yeah, the drug addict, and exactly, and they're at odds with each other.
Yeah,
It's so funny that they would bring those two actors back.
And you do get
exactly the greatest like moment in all of the Star Trek movies.
Oh, awesome.
It's so loud it reverberates outside of the planet.
Yes. Well, with that, as a little congratulatory making it through this, I'll offer you a Captain Kirk Pez.
Oh, it didn't.
Oh, dude, maybe you need a little happy pill to get your phaser up.
Maybe I do need a little happy pill.
All right. Well, with that, if you want to debate our lists or you think we're full of it, go to MacGuffinPodcast.com, hit the comments section, tell us what you loved or don't love. See you next time.
Thanks.